It's good to see you again in VNA News Bulletin. I'm Vi Hằng from Hanoi with the major stories. The second plenum of the 12th Central Party Committee concludes. President Trương Tấn Sang begins state visit to Mozambique. World Bank optimistic about Vietnam's growth prospects. The second plenum of the 12th Central Party Committee concluded in Hanoi on March 12 after 3 days of working. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng chaired and delivered a speech at the closing session. In his closing remark, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng said that the committee generally agrees with the draft working agenda for the 12th tenure, saying that it covers important issues with a view to successfully realizing the resolution adopted by the 12th National Party Congress. The agenda sets the goal for continuing to accelerate the implementation of a resolution on party building set by the 11th Party Central Committee's 4th plenum, building a really strong political system, streamlining personnel in public administration, renewing the party leadership, fighting corruption and wastefulness, and restructuring the economy. On the 2016-2020 Socio-Economic Development Plan, the committee gave the nod to proposals mentioned in the government's report and offered more suggestions to the scheme to submit to the 11th session of the 13th National Assembly for adoption. The participants also discussed and reached consensus on personnel arrangement for the state agencies, in a bid to ensure the timely implementation of the resolution adopted at the 12th National Party Congress. The committee cast votes for nominees to such key positions as the State President, Prime Minister, and Chairman of the National Assembly. Based on the committee's nominations and voting results, the Politburo will instruct authorized agencies to continue refining the nomination list for leading posts of state agencies before submitting it to the National Assembly. The party chair reaffirmed that thorough preparations will be made to successfully conduct the election of deputies to the 14th National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels for the 2016-2021 tenure. State President Trương Tấn Sang began his state visit to Mozambique on March 11th at the invitation of Mozambican President Filipe Chancito Nyusi. A welcome ceremony for the Vietnamese leader with the highest rituals for a head of state was held at the presidential palace. Vietnam and Mozambique established diplomatic ties in 1975. Since then, the bilateral relations have grown fruitfully, marked by the exchange of delegations at all levels and directive cooperation between ministries, sectors, and localities. Bilateral cooperation in agriculture, healthcare, education, and training has seen progress, while two-way trade increased from $7 million in 2003 to $66 million in 2015. Mozambique now ranks 8th among 60 countries and territories which have attracted Vietnamese investments. Following the welcoming ceremony, President Sang held talks with President Nyusi, during which they informed each other about their respective countries' situation as well highly of progress in bilateral cooperation. President Sang suggested Mozambique support Vietnam's bid to run for a seat in the International Law Commission for the 2017-2021 tenure, a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council for the 2020-2021 term. In terms of trade, the leaders held that the two-way trade value remains modest and fails to match with the potentials and political ties of Vietnam and Mozambique. They vowed to direct ministries and departments to discuss specific measures to lift two-way trade to at least $500 million by 2020 and beyond. Both leaders expressed delight at the more vital joint venture between Vietnam's military-run telecommunication group Viettel and Mozambique's SPI company, saying that its success manifests Vietnam's effective investments in Mozambique. Mozambique applauded the success of a rice-growing project among Vietnam, Mozambique, and Japan, which introduced higher varieties in the country. the African country hopes that Vietnam will send experts to work at its Aquatic Research Institute and help develop fish breeding models at sea. Deputy Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc hosted a reception in Hanoi on March 12 for Executive Vice President of Toyota Motor Corporation, Nobuori Kodaira, who is on a working visit to Vietnam. Phúc hailed the sound relations between Vietnam and Japan in the fields of economy, culture, and politics in recent years. The leader stressed that Japan is among the largest ODA sponsors for Vietnam and is a major investor and trade partner of the Southeast Asian country. He asked Toyota to work with Vietnamese automobile manufacturers to increase the rates of locally made spare parts, as well as create conditions for more Vietnamese enterprises to become component suppliers of Toyota Corporation in the future. For its part, Kodaira highlighted that Toyota is carrying out sustainable development policies in Vietnam, while asking the Vietnamese government to facilitate Japanese businesses landing investment in Vietnam. Moving on to other news, more than 150 delegates from major parties and socio-economic organizations in France and European countries attended an international seminar on the 12th National Party Congress of the Communist Party of Vietnam, hosted by Gabriel Péry Foundation in Paris on March 11th. In his opening remark, director of the Gabriel Péry Foundation, Michael Marceau, highlighted that French scholars have considerable faith about Vietnam, thanks to its proactive, strong economic growth, deep international integration, and many positive factors after the 12th National Party Congress. He noted that the seminar is built as a significant event to foster Vietnam-France relations, while helping international scholars and friends further their understanding about the Southeast Asian country. Deputy Head of the Commission for External Relations under the Central Party Committee, Phạm Xuân Sơn, briefed participants about Vietnam's contemporary history, political features, as well as guidelines and policies adopted at the 12th National Party Congress. As many as 12 reports were delivered at the conference, including a review of the country's strategies for its continued development and achievements of the Đổi mới reform process over the past 30 years. The participants mentioned complex regional and global issues, including the East Sea tension. They supported Vietnam in addressing the issue through peaceful means in line with international law, especially the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Vietnam is among emerging countries in the world with strong economic growth forecast for this year and the years to come. The information was released by the World Bank in its recent Global Economic Prospects report. In the context that the flow of investments in infrastructure and industry in Vietnam is increasing, the World Bank forecasts that the country's annual economic growth will reach 6%. In the report, the World Bank also asserted that Vietnam has strengthened development efforts and promoted the equitization of enterprises. The state-owned sector currently accounts for only 40% of the economy. Meanwhile, the private sector is growing thanks to an abundant labor force, increasing salaries and stable prices. The proportion of agriculture in the economy has dropped, making up only 18% of GDP last year, while that of the production and service sectors was 82%. Besides Vietnam, other countries with strong growth prospects include Myanmar, the Philippines, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Ethiopia. Steel mills now have to struggle to compete with imports from China. If the Ministry of Industry and Trade fails to take temporary defensive measures, a series of enterprises will go bankrupt. A report released by the ministry said that in January 2016, Vietnam churned out 364,500 tons of raw steel, a decrease of 7.1% compared with the same period last year. Meanwhile, the imported volume increased by 33.9%. The imports from China remains a headache for domestic steel enterprises. Chinese enterprises have increased exports to Vietnam to ease domestic oversupply, accepting to sell products at below production costs. Meanwhile, under the ASEAN-China Free Trade Agreement, the import tariff on alloy steel will be cut to 0%, which will pave the way for more steel to enter Vietnam. This has put Vietnamese enterprises on tenterhooks. The domestic steel output alone is more than enough to satisfy domestic demand, but Chinese imports have been increasing rapidly. Therefore, domestic steel mills repeatedly urged the Ministry of Industry and Trade to take defensive measures to rescue the steel industry, which is in danger. In mid-December 2015, the ministry decided to conduct an investigation to apply defensive measures against ingot steel and long steel products made of import ingot steel. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism will join hands with relevant agencies of the Republic of Korea to compile a dossier seeking UNESCO recognition of traditional lacquer craft as the world's intangible cultural heritage. More in the following report. As a traditional fine art which dates back many centuries in Asia, sunmai or lacquer has long been used to decorate household items such as screens and dishes, as well as jewelry boxes. With the development of fine arts, lacquer has become a specialized material for painting and made the names of many painters who have pursued this art form. Lacquerware is created in various ways in different countries, containing its own hallmark and typical cultural values. In Vietnam, painters normally use sap extracted from certain trees in Phu Thọ province, together with eggshell, gold and silver to create lacquer materials. What makes the sound of lacquer paintings and the talents of a lacquer painter is the way the artist washes his artwork.
Lacquer paintings are made with the same base in different countries. But Vietnam's lacquer is different from those in Japan, the Republic of Korea, or China, due to the flexibility in creating many layers of the work.
In the Republic of Korea, lacquer paintings are done with orchid style, which is the art of mixing sap from the ornamental tree with other materials, such as mother of pearl.
Orchid is now receiving much attention from the Korean government. The government zones off areas for ornamental tree growing and provides support for local residents living in these areas to develop the plantation.
Exchanges on lacquer painting art have been held regularly in Vietnam, Japan, and the Republic of Korea. Worthy of note was an exhibition showcasing lacquer artworks from Vietnam and the Republic of Korea in Hanoi in late 2015, where painters got a chance to watch how lacquer paintings are done differently in different countries.
We have to admit that Korean painters are very skillful in making their pearl inlay. However, the paintings are more like decorative artworks rather than a drawing, and there are not so many layers on the work.
If the government approves, this will be the second time Vietnam joining the compilation of a multinational dossier. Previously, Vietnam coordinated with Cambodia, the Republic of Korea, and the Philippines to build a dossier for the talking rituals and games, a tug-of-war ritual practiced as a prayer for bumper harvest, which were added to UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2015. And that has wrapped up our daily bulletin. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye from Hanoi.